But I can tell you about my journey, what my understanding is, what I think is important, why I think it's important, how you can start, and maybe how you can build on it. From where I come, obviously we did teaching uh, in our system, but it probably wasn't as organized, or maybe I wasn't aware. We did it when we liked, when we wanted, um, because we loved to do teaching. But when I came here, it became apparent quite quickly that this is an important part of our job. Especially when I became a registrar, it became quite clear that this is a teaching job. Um, it's an important part of NHS service delivery. It's important for your own development, to support the development of others. And this is not a light task either, because you're passing your own knowledge, and the recipient may be receiving that knowledge for the first time in their life. So it often molds them, it often stays with them. It's an indicator uh, of yourself, your own knowledge. Sometimes it indicates your own desire to learn, to stay up to date. It's often taken as your desire to improve the system, building future, etc., building future workforce, etc. It comes hands in hands with leadership, management. You can link this to so many portfolio topics. So in the NHS, it's very important. I'll say quite important. And in some specialties, like in intensive care medicine training, you can even opt for a whole year of training uh, to develop your teaching skills. You get special skills here to develop your teaching. And then when you go on to become a consultant, that can become a selling point as well. So it's pretty important, I think, as you've got now. But I think today's topic was going to focus more on building CV. I think I know most of the people here who are joining here are interested in getting into NHS, getting into trainings, be it surgical, medical, general GP training. And I was just going through all the applications, all the person specifications last night. And actually, it's an essential criteria to have evidence of teaching experience and or training in teaching for medical and surgical higher specialty training. So you can't apply without evidence of having teaching experience or training in teaching for higher specialty training, that is ST4 and above. And for CT1, CT2, it's desirable to have evidence of involvement in teaching students, postgraduates, and other professionals with feedback. I'll come back to feedback and evidence in a bit. So you'll need to have evidence of participation in a teaching course. Interestingly, I'm sure this is important for GP training as well. In the GP training person specification, it didn't mention it didn't get mentioned as an essential criteria, but I'm sure this is a desirable criteria. And we can all score quite heavily in teaching. It only needs to show your lasting commitment, your long-term commitment to a meaningful teaching program, and that's not too difficult either. And in terms of on the CV, when you apply for a job or apply for training post, there are two aspects of being involved in teaching. One is our own teaching delivery, teaching experience, and training in teaching. And a lot of marks can be scored for, in both aspects. For most of the training applications, what I've noticed that there are 4 scores that you can get from teaching experience, starting from 0, where you basically say, I have no experience in teaching. I have never done teaching, which is not going to be true for majority. The highest score you can get is 6. That is if you can manage to work with local tutors, like faculty tutors, or your departmental teaching lead, and organize a teaching program, including a series of sessions for healthcare professionals and medical students. And you have to show you have regularly taught over a period of approximately 3 months or longer, and you need to have evidence of formal feedback. So, for example, for my own CV, I showed how I got involved into setting up a PACES teaching program in Bangladesh, and they actually allowed me 6 points. But at the same time, if you're working in a acute medical unit or any other wherever you're working, if there is no already set up teaching program, you can set up a teaching program quite easily. For example, a weekly Thursday morning or Tuesday morning teaching session for junior doctors. Um, so you will get 6 points if you can show that you organize the tutors, the speakers, and your lead or the local tutor gives you a certificate saying that you've organized tutors, you've regularly taught yourself for more than 3 months. You can easily score 6 scores, which is quite a lot for us application. Feedback is very important. Whenever you do teaching, be it one-to-one, or a small group, or a larger group, regional, national, international, if you don't have evidence, you haven't done it. So get feedbacks. Most of the portfolios, JRCPTB and the other portfolios, they've got teaching observation feedbacks, or they can be downloaded from JRCPTB website. If you want to score big, the certificates will need to be issued from the local tutor. Then for you score 3 if you're involved in a similar kind of teaching, but you're not recruiting tutors. You get 3, but you'll have to be involved in teaching for approximately 3 months or longer. And again, you'll need evidence of formal feedback. For example, regular bedside or classroom teaching. You can be a mentor to a student. I was mentored to a nurse even because they were doing their clinical attachment and they needed to shadow a reg. You can be a tutor in a virtual learning environment. There are so many these days. But again, you'll need certificate and evidence of formal feedback. So get these in advance before your application, as soon as you've done them. The website, the higher specialty training recruitment website says, to score the 2 highest scoring options, in addition to the certificate and the feedback, you'll also need a letter from your local tutor or organization confirming your contribution to the course, and evidence of the timetable, outline of the program content, or letters from tutor organization responsible for your program. And this must be on a headed document from the organization. None of these are really that difficult. Then if you just occasionally teach medical students or other healthcare professionals and have got feedback, you can still score 1. Occasionally means you're teaching for less than 3 months, but it should still be, again, at least 3 sessions. So the scoring system in the application is quite strict. So because it's quite easy to score, I think if we are a bit careful, we can score a lot in this section of our CV. Then training in teaching, obviously one can go for master's level teaching, which can be full-time over one academic year, or part-time over multiple years, and you score highest, that's 3. Or you can go for a PG cert or PG diploma, which gives you 2. Now, I haven't done PG cert or master's myself, but I know people who got in touch with the affiliated universities, and you can actually get free PG cert, and that's quite heavy in your CV, I think. Otherwise, outside your primary medical qualifications like MRC, PMRCS, etc., if you've had any training in teaching, for example, a 2-day course like Teach the Teacher, Train the Trainer, you can still score 1. So I think I'll urge everyone to not overlook this teaching section. A, because it's essential. B, because you can score heavily. C, it looks quite good. If you're interested and involved in teaching, so I'll quite encourage everyone. And it's quite easy as well. You can get into your departmental teaching by starting talking to people. There may be already a faculty tutor or a teaching education lead, and often they are very helpful and encouraging. Just as I said, when I started in Kingsmill, there was no formal teaching program. So with a fellow Reg, we set up weekly teaching for the international medical graduates, which was overlooked by a consultant who was also a dean of a specialty. So that gave me marks for my internal medicine application. Then when I moved on to Chesterfield, I set up a similar teaching, but for a wider audience, weekly on a Thursday. And I got a certificate from the Junior Doctors Forum, and that helped me for my intensive care medicine training application. Regional teaching, there are regional teaching days for all the training specialties. You can talk to the organizer and present something there, or it's not that difficult to organize one either, and you don't have to actually do a lot. Often the faculty tutors and the heads, they will have the contact details of the speakers. You often just end up contacting them, getting a schedule, arranging a catering, and then you get to organize a regional teaching program that looks very good on CV. I've recently done one for intensive care medicine. National, international, obviously there are conferences going on all the time. So you can do a session and get feedback and link it to your CV as well. So in a nutshell, if you want to score top in your CV for your application, that program ideally needs to be 3 months or more, where you need to recruit tutors or speakers, and you'll need to collect feedback. With virtual teaching and medical students in abundance, it has become really easy to organize this without much effort across a region or even nationally. All you need to do is to find an area you're interested in. And then as for training and teaching, there are a lot of courses, and you can spend a lot of money, and they will give you 1 or 2 points. Or alternately, you can reach out to the university affiliated with your hospital. You can even get a free PG cert. What I'll say from my own experience is sometimes it's the inertia or the fear of not knowing or the fear of being criticized keeps us back from getting involved into teaching. But once you start it, just like any other skill, you get better. Teaching makes you read, teaching makes you learn, and it makes you develop and grow. your knowledge. So it's not only just CV, it's a continuous professional development. uh, it makes you a better professional as well. um, Take feedbacks, reflect on them, think about how you can grow, how you can make it larger, bigger, and then it's quite satisfactory once you've passed on your knowledge to someone and they find it interesting, or and it helps in their own development. So I can't stress enough on the importance of being involved in teaching,